Thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. I am your co-host, Sarah. With me, as always, is Tate, even though you can't currently see him. We have a great show for you today. We'll be covering last night's Game 3 between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. We'll be remembering basketball legend Jerry West, who recently passed. We'll be talking about Brent McMurphy's assertion that Clemson and Florida State leaving the ACC is inevitable. Moving on from there, we'll be talking about a nightclub in New York City with some interesting entrance requirements, and make sure you stick around for segment 5 when we will be talking about wedding guest requirements that are causing those guests to be more than a little uncomfortable. As we get started, I do want to remind you to like and follow the show. That really does help us out. Also, if you would like to leave a comment, the best way to do that is to go to gsmcpodcast.net. We get a lot of questions and comments during shows. So if you go to gsmcpodcast.net and leave a tip or a donation, that will bump your comment to the top of our queue, ensuring that we see it. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. Good morning, Tate.
Good morning, Miss Sarah. How are you doing there?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. We got our morning walk-in. Mm-hmm. That's what we call our morning production meeting.
Yes.
Where we're going on a long walk, talk about things.
I was actually going to make a snide comment about how someone decided that production meetings would be more productive if we were walking while them, and now I feel old and a little bit stiff.
Okay, so we live in one of the most beautiful parts of the world. So is it better to sit in an office and talk about, okay, we're going to talk about this, talk about that, or go on a nice walk, pass a few beaches, talk about that, and then do the show? So
absolutely. It's just sometimes we get back and I'm like, whoa, little tweak there. It's all good. It is all good. Well, should we talk about some sports?
Let's do it.
How about basketball? We'll talk about last night's games. Let me get this set up really quick. 1 second. And in Game 3 of the NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics defeated the Dallas Mavericks 106-99, taking a commanding 3-0 series lead. The dynamic duo of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 61 points, with Tatum scoring 31 and Brown adding 30, along with 8 rebounds and 8 assists. This victory puts Boston on the brink of their 18th NBA championship. The game was a roller coaster of momentum swings. Dallas started strong, building an early 10-point lead, but Boston closed the first quarter down by just 1 point. The game remained tightly contested until the third quarter, when Boston's defense tightened and their shooting heated up, extending their lead to 21 points. However, Dallas, led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, mounted a fierce comeback in the fourth quarter. The Mavericks went on a 22 run, cutting the Celtics' lead to just 3 points. Doncic was pivotal in this run, but fouled out with 4 minutes and 12 seconds remaining, finishing the game with 27 points. Irving led all scorers with 35 points, but without Doncic, the Mavericks couldn't complete the comeback. Despite nearly squandering their large lead, the Celtics held firm in the final minutes. Derek White contributed 16 points, supporting Tatum and Brown as Boston closed out the game, outscoring Dallas 13-7 in the crucial final stretch. This win marks Boston's 10th consecutive playoff victory and their 7th road win in these playoffs. They have a chance to clinch their 18th championship and surpass the Los Angeles Lakers for the most titles in NBA history with a win in Game 4. Tate, we just talked about this. You said this game was crucial. Talk to me.
I said this game was crucial. I thought that the Mavs would win this game. And it started out as a situation where it's like, okay, in order for the Mavs to win, one of the number one criteria is they have to have Luka get off, who Luka has consistently gotten off. But it was also crucial that Kyrie got off. And Kyrie has not looked that great during these finals. So when the game started out and Kyrie started out hot and Luka started out hot, and you could tell that Kristaps Porzingis not being in the game, there was a factor. It opened up the court. It opened up driving lanes. Opened up the driving lanes to the basket. Majorly opened up. Also, I noticed that Kyrie away from Boston was a different player. His game picked up, his scoring picked up. The Celtics did what normally on paper you wanted them to do. Like Kyrie and Luka do their thing. In most places, that would have been good enough. But they're playing the Celtics, and the Celtics is a complete team. Position 1 through 7, they have scorers and scoring and defense. And whether it's the first Jaylen Brown or Tatum, it doesn't matter. They have too many weapons. And even though Kyrie got off, even though Luka got off, the Celtics were just too much. Offensively, defensively, support off the bench. Everything you want from a team was done. They got out to a big lead. First, Dallas had a little bit of a lead. Celtics ended up having another lead that they kind of squandered. And, Dallas got back in it. But in the end, their big players stepped up where the Mavericks players fouled out. And it was Luka getting that foul at the end, I thought was absolutely unacceptable. There's a couple things about Luka that I look at and I say, why did Dallas lose? And I lean toward Luka. Luka's been awesome this whole series. It's not his offense. Luka's defense has been horrendous. This series, especially last night, he was a liability on defense. Not only that, but his conditioning failed him as well. And once his conditioning failed him, then he started making mistakes. And the biggest mistake you could have is that last foul that he got fouled out on. When he fouled out, that meant the game was over. There was nothing that could be done. Dallas could not move on or beat them if Luka's not on the court. And that foul, whether you think it's controversial or not, that foul should have never happened. That play should have never happened because Luka's too valuable to the team to take that risk. You don't put yourself in that situation when your team depends on you so much to be in a situation where you could get fouled out, where it is a judgment call by the referee. Personally, the referee made the right decision. Luka did not make the right decision. With that, they're out. This series is over. It is absolutely over. I thought it was going to be, I said it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I don't think so now. I think we're going to be closing this series out in game 4.
Wow.
And this is disappointing because I thought this was going to be the series, that this was going to be an all-time great series, but I feel like only one team really showed up.
Yeah. And that stat that Boston has won 7 games on the road in this playoff series, what do you think it is about their team this year that is enabling those
this on wins? Paper, this is one of the all-time great teams. It won't get remembered as an all-time great team, but when you look at the numbers, you look at the stats throughout the year, their win percentage, everything else, statistically, they're one of the best teams to come through in the last decade. And in this playoffs, they're showing there's a gap between where Dallas is at and where the Mavericks are at. I watch this series and I keep thinking to myself, man, I wish Minnesota could have done better against Dallas. Because I think this would be a much more competitive series with Minnesota than it is with Dallas. I don't think Dallas has much of a shot now. No team, I don't think any team has ever came back from an 0-3 deficit. And if someone has, it's only been done once. It's pretty much, let's just say percentage-wise, it's a 90+% chance that this series is a wrap. And I think it's a wrap sooner than that, because I don't see them picking up a game.
Well, we were just here, except it was Dallas who was up 3 games, and you were saying, maybe a gentleman's sweep with Minnesota, who did rally for that 4th game. So
now, see, here's the thing, though. I don't even know if Dallas has it in them to rally to get to just take one. It's gonna be, I don't know if they have it. They came out and they did exactly what they wanted to do, which is get Kyrie involved, get Luka involved. But the big problem isn't, like yesterday, the problem wasn't Luka offensively and Kyrie. It was Luka's defense, the team defense, and an outright absence of support elsewhere. You can't win an NBA Finals getting no support off of from your other players, and especially your bench, on top of playing poor defense. You just can't do that. That is a recipe for disaster, and that's what we're seeing here, as an outright disaster for the Dallas Mavericks.
it's unfortunate. There's been some surprises in this postseason, and they haven't all been fun.
There won't be any more surprises in this one. There won't be a 7-game series and with the Mavericks winning. I'm going to tell you that.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break for this episode. When we come back, we'll be remembering Jerry West. You are tuned in to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports, and we will be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. In segment 1, we were talking about last night's game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics, who now lead the series 3-0. As we go into segment 2, I do want to remind you once again that we get a number of questions and comments during our shows. If you go to gsmcpodcast.net and leave a tip or a donation, that will put your question at the top of our list, ensuring that we see it. We love engaging with questions and comments, so go to gsmcpodcast.net. Now, moving into segment 2, we are remembering Jerry West, a monumental figure in basketball history who passed away at the age of 86 this week. Known as Mr. Clutch, West's remarkable career spanned over 6 decades, during which he excelled as both a player and an executive, setting the gold standard in the NBA. Drafted by the Lakers in 1960, West quickly became a franchise icon, leading the team to 9 NBA Finals and securing 1 championship as a player. His on-court prowess, highlighted by his exceptional scoring and defensive skills, earned him 14 All-Star selections and 12 All-NBA honors. West's impact extended beyond his playing days. As an executive, he masterminded the Showtime Lakers of the 1980s, orchestrated the Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant era, and contributed to the success of the Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, and LA Clippers. His eye for talent and strategic acumen garnered him 2 Executives of the Year awards. West's legacy is further immortalized by his silhouette, widely believed to be the model for the NBA logo. Despite his success, West was driven by a relentless pursuit of perfection, often haunted by losses. His autobiography, West by West, reveals his struggles with depression and the psychological scars from his playing days. Nevertheless, West's dedication and competitive spirit made him a revered figure in basketball, earning accolades like the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The basketball community mourns the loss of a legend whose contributions shaped the league. West's life and career were celebrated through a video tribute and a moment of silence before last night's Game 3 of the NBA Finals. His enduring influence and the respect he commanded from players and executives alike underscore his unparalleled impact on the game. Tate, as we remember Jerry West, we were talking earlier during that production walk about the fact that he retired from playing the year before I was born. So this man has been around for a long time. His impact is going to be remembered for even longer. And even as a child who did not grow up in a sports family, I still knew the name. I probably couldn't have told you why I knew the name, but I did know who he was.
I agree. It's, when you just think about his numbers as a player, 14 years in the league, 14 years he was an all-star, 9 NBA finals. I know, and you talk about in his book, he talks about being haunted by some of his losses as a player. He ran into a buzzsaw. That was the Bill Russell Celtics. No one had a shot against them, but they were still able to be a champion. He's the logo of the NBA. And I don't think of him of any of that whatsoever. I think of him as the greatest general manager of all time in college, in basketball. As it talked about, orchestrating, putting together the Showtime Lakers. Arguably one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Orchestrated the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Helped orchestrate the Splash Brothers and the Golden State Warriors, one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Helping rebuild the Clippers. His time in Memphis, turning Memphis around, or the Grizzlies around. Can't remember if he was when they were in Vancouver or just in Memphis, but he helped turn Memphis around, or the Grizzlies. He's been, whenever he's not been a general manager, he's been a consultant, an advisor. He has helped so many teams and so many players throughout his career. That's what I think of when I think of Jerry West. The league definitely has lost one of their marquee players, one of their marquee faces, one of the greatest Lakers of all time. When you start to think about the Lakers are always star-studded, but you think back to West and Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem and Magic and LeBron and Kobe, and you start thinking about all the greats, but it kind of starts with Jerry West. Him and Wilt are the original architects. After them, that's when Kareem came in. Once Kareem was in, then Magic came in. After that, then Shaq and Kobe came in. It's been that consistency of greatness at the Lakers, which was all started by Jerry West, the player, and Jerry West, the general manager. So that's a big loss for the world of basketball in the last few years. I know he was, at the end, he was consulting and doing some things with the Clippers, but mostly he's been I believe he's been just kind of retired now. But man, that's a rough one. And I saw that, he went the way a lot of people would like to say they've gone. He went into sleep from everything I've heard. So go ahead.
Well, just listening to you list his accomplishments and listening to many people in the sports world the last Day-ish talk about his accomplishments. The man's mind for basketball was simply astounding. And you mentioned, you think he was pretty well retired, but I mean, he was 86. he was 86, and
he was retired. He just finished.
Yeah, but it's been a rough month for the basketball world, because this is the second in memoriam segment that we have done.
Absolutely,
we've lost some huge.
Bill Russell, Bill Russell a little while ago, and then Bill Walton, now Jerry West. One thing I was surprised that he's only been general manager, executive of the year only twice. That's a travesty. That, executive of the year, it should be the Jerry West executive of the year. The award should be named after him. He should have won that thing so many times.
You think it should have been like his 14 seasons and his 14? Like, yeah. He should have just every year.
You're telling me when the Lakers, the Showtime Lakers are going, he should have won it at least 2 to 3 times with the Showtime Lakers. Shaq and Kobe, he should have won it a couple of times with Shaq and Kobe. He should have won it a couple of times with the Warriors. What he's done, what he did and for the Clippers, he should have been a major contender for it. They didn't win it, but man, they put together some impressive teams with the Clippers, an organization that was an outright dumpster fire. He turned them around. The man has been a genius. It's just weird when you start looking at all these tributes and you start realizing what a great player he was, because you forget about it. He was gone before I was even paying attention to basketball. Before I even knew basketball existed, Jerry West was done with basketball.
Before I was even alive.
Before Sarah was even alive. So you look around, I don't think of him as the player. I just think of him as the amazing executive. But there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of experts that put him as one of the all-time great players of all time. And we're talking about him being one of the all-time great general managers, executives of all time. Talk about bookending your career better than most. Only person I can think of that can even compete with that is Pat Riley, which was one of Jerry West's people.
Well, I mean, some people don't get either of those in their life.
Exactly.
let alone both, to be that impressive as not only a player, but then also moving out of being a player into being an executive. That is a transition that not every player gets to make. Not every player has the ability to make, and not every player is successful at when they do make it. So,
when you talk about, and people talk about LeBron, 20 years of excellence. 20 years of excellence is impressive. Look at Tom Brady, 20 years of excellence. Then you look at Jerry West, 50, 60 years of excellence.
Yeah.
That's more than most people's lives. 50, 60 years. 14 every year in All-Pro. An amazing career as an executive and a consultant. 50, 60 years of sheer excellence. One of the greats are gone, and that's sad.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and it's kind of a sad note to end on, but let's go ahead and take our next break of this episode. When we come back, switching back to college sports and the ongoing topics that evolved from that, we'll be talking about Brent McMurphy's recent statements about Clemson and Florida State. You are tuned into the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports, and we will be right back.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. Before the break, we were talking about the life and legacy of Jerry West. Our first segment, we covered last night's game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. And now we are going back to the ever-evolving topic of college sports and the changes that are happening there. The ACC is on the brink of a significant transformation as Florida State and Clemson are poised to exit the conference. According to Action Network's Brett McMurphy, it's not a matter of if, but when. Despite attempts to repair relations, the inevitability of their departure is underscored by ongoing legal battles and strategic delays by the ACC to prolong settlements. Florida State and Clemson's discontent with the ACC has reached a tipping point, driven by disputes over the conference's television agreements and a hefty $140 million exit penalty. These tensions echo the recent destabilization seen in the Pac-12, indicating that the ACC may be next in line for a major reconfiguration. McMurphy, speaking on the Paul Feinbaum Show, highlighted that the ACC is prepared to fight these departures tooth and nail. However, once a settlement is reached, it could trigger a domino effect, leading to other schools like North Carolina exploring exit strategies. The SEC has shown interest in North Carolina, adding another layer of complexity to the situation. The legal standoff marked by Florida State and Clemson's lawsuit aimed at dissolving the restrictive grant of rights and the steep exit fees. This drawn-out process seems destined to end with both schools seeking new conferences, potentially the Big Ten for its coastal appeal or other strategic alliances. The broader implications for the ACC are significant as the conference grapples with these departures. Its future composition and competitive landscape hang in the balance. The departure of two powerhouse programs could set a precedent, encouraging other schools to follow suit, fundamentally altering the ACC's structure and influence in college athletics. Tate, what do you think about this latest comment, development, ongoing storyline, whatever you want to call it?
You know, it's kind of cool and interesting to hear some of the experts give their thoughts and talk about how this is inevitable. It's going to happen. I've been saying that as well. I agree. I think it's just a matter of time before this happens. So, you know, the question that comes to mind is, when will this happen? Is it sooner than later? Because I feel like it should be decided soon, within the next few months. And then what is the effect of this? The ACC is going to hold Florida State and Clemson to the letter of the law that is the Greenwich Rights contract. That's going to be that 150 million, 140 million exit fee plus your media rights. That's another 500 million. So they want $600-700 million out of this. Where is that settlement going to be? I feel like Clemson and Florida State, especially Florida State, has looked at it and said, it doesn't matter the dollar figure, they want out. If I'm the ACC, I make a settlement. It's getting to that point. It's going to happen. And I think right now is the time to settle this. And here's the reason why. The Big 12 is starting to talk about being open for business because they're eyeing some of the ACC schools. But if they do a settlement that is big enough, you look around and you do a settlement of, let's say, half of that, let's say 350 million, 300 million. You settle that, you let Florida State go, You let Clemson go, hope and pray that North Carolina doesn't go as well. But the reason why I think you should start thinking about settling is because you want to be able to make an aggressive move incredibly fast. What would be more attractive to the remaining ACC schools? If you lose Duke and you lose Clemson, but the schools get to split up $700 million between the two of them, that makes it a lot easier to swallow. Then you go out and you finish that West Wing with the ACC. Make it an all-close conference. You already have Cal, you have Stanford. I personally think they should go after Oregon State and Washington State. I would even add San Diego State in there as well. And so that it makes more, if you add those three teams, it makes a West Wing way more attractive and appealing. And now you're covering the East Coast and West Coast. And then I would try for one of the Florida schools, the Central Florida or South Florida, one of those Florida schools to take the place so they still have a presence in Florida. But when you start looking at this and you start reading this stuff, I don't think there's anyone that thinks there's a way for you know what, we've had a talk and we don't want to, we're going to reconcile. Reconciliation is out. Florida State has made it. You're at that point of no return. So now, what is that move? You don't want to be the last one to make a move. What could cost the ACC is this is why I say they need to settle. If they settle and let's say they agree upon, you got to pay that whole 140. That's set. Plus, you get half of your media rights. That makes it so much harder for other schools to leave. But if they go through and they battle this all the way out, and you just need one judge to say the media rights is not enforceable. If a judge goes in and says the media rights deal is not enforceable, and this is one that a lot of people in SEC thinks, that your exit fee is too high, and a judge files that way, and a lot of people think a judge will eventually file that rule that way. If that happens, then you've opened yourself up to a mass exodus, because if a judge rules, then now it's open game. Duke, North Carolina, Miami, they're gonna go running to the Big Ten. For schools like Virginia, they're gonna want to go. You're gonna end up with this full collapse of schools. But if you do the settlement where you've established an exit policy, these other schools, they can leave, but it's going to cost them $350 million to leave. You'll be surprised how many schools stay. And that's the reason why I think it's smart to settle this now than to wait and let a judge make that final decision. Does that make sense to you, Sarah?
It does make a lot of sense. But every time we have these segments, and we've been talking a lot about NCAA and conference realignment and everything that's going on right now with settlements and shifting, it's so hard to even have a clear picture of what things are going to look like in 6 months, a year, 5 years, because every day it's something, it feels like it's something new, and you cannot say if this happens then this, because if this happens there's 6 other things that fall into place.
If a judge rules that the granted rights are not enforceable, that the exit fees are not considered fair and equitable, then it's a free for all, and the ACC will collapse. Because when you lose Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, schools like that, then you're going to start looking around, and schools like Pitt and Louisville are going to get a little nervous and going to run to the Big 12 as well. Everyone's going to start looking for a safe harbor. And kind of like what happened with the Pac-12. Arizona, they held on as long as possible. Arizona State held on long as possible. Utah didn't want to go to the Big 12. But eventually, when all heck broke loose, those schools went running. Colorado ended up in the Big 12. You don't when you start losing your top schools, when the USC, UCLA's, Oregon, and Oregon State say we're out, and then Colorado was the straw that broke the camel back for the Pac-12. At that point, that's when everyone started scrambling, because no school. And the reason why this will be a full collapse is if a judge rules that they can't enforce any of this, the exit fees, the granted rights, or anything, there will be a mass exodus, because no one wants to end up like Oregon State and Washington State. We have nothing. We don't have no television deal, no conference, and our future is in major jeopardy. No one wants to be that school. So, like I said, schools like Pittsburgh and Louisville are going to run to the Big 12, where they have relationships with West Virginia and bringing back certain rivalries. There's going to be schools having to make very tough decisions that they would not have normally made. But if the ACC is proactive and they settle this and make it so that it doesn't end up in court, but not a judge ruling, settle it so that the benchmark is, listen, if you want to go, anyone that wants to go, it's going to be $350 million to go. You're going to keep a lot of those schools. And then from there, the schools that do leave, it's easier to replace and the fact that they've already brought in an SMU and a Cal and a Stanford, they already have padding. But then you can add on a couple more. Maybe that Oregon State, maybe that Washington State, maybe a South Florida. Maybe start looking at Tulane, some schools like that. You start looking at some of the schools around you, and it's possible. It is incredibly possible to keep the conference together. Maybe even go after a UConn football program, basketball program, and try to bring them over. You have to be proactive. That's the thing I'm most concerned about with the ACC. They've taken the point of, we're digging in and we're going to fight this all the way to the end. But that approach makes it so there's no fallback. And so that's what I'm looking at.
Well, I think, as I say at the end of every one of these segments, we're going to continue talking about it. We will keep monitoring the situation and trying to figure out where things are going to end up. Time for our third break of this segment. When we come back, switching subjects to a nightclub in New York that has some controversial entrance requirements. You are tuned in to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports, and we will be right back.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. Before the break, we were talking about Clemson and Florida State, the ACC, all kinds of potential ramifications for continued shifting conference realignments, lawsuits, settlements. You name it, it's thrown in there. Everything but the kitchen sink, right? Tate, are you a fan of nightclubs?
Back in the day, yes. It's
Okay.
not in the last few years. I haven't been clubbing. That's not my scene lately. Used to be my scene, though.
All right. Well, we've got a story today about. We've got lots of things that are being clicked here. Give me 1 second. A nightclub in New York City that is, as you see there, you don't see anything.
All right. Just
Okay.
keep on telling me about it.
All right,
Okay.
we'll just we'll go back here to this screen so that we're not looking at nothing. All right, so let me tell you about it. New York City's Garçon Club has sparked controversy by forcing customers to show a bank account of $50,000 or more to get in. This means not just one person in your group, but all males will be required to show proof of liquid funds to enter. Garçon has responded to the controversy with confidence. In their statement, they said luxury, exclusivity, and status were their main focus by implementing this rule. The features. As you would expect, the club is the state of the art. Geez, I can't say that. State of the art. The best service, production, and design in New York City will host the top 1% of New York City residents. Exclusive events will be hosted by celebrities and performers. Premium services with a price tag like this expect the best service and products. Luxury interior design and VIP section. Here's the application process. Even for people willing to show the $50,000 to enter, there are more steps to the process, including membership fees, acceptance, interviews, and more. So proof of funds is required, that 50 million K minimum.
50,000, not 50 million.
Oh, did I say 50 million?
If there was 50 million, you'd have like 2 people
50
in
million.
this club.
I said 50 million K, so that's even worse. 50 K, 50,000 minimum. Let's just
Okay.
make that clear. It's 50,000, not 50 million. Then there are the interviews. So there was a video from Barstool. There was a gentleman from Barstool Sports talking about this. He saw it on a TikTok video, and he's not impressed. We can talk about his comments, but Tate, let's hear yours first.
Okay, first off, this is I think it's crap. First off, I understand what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is, by getting out there that the men that are in this club have a certain liquid assets, it's going to draw more women. My big problem with this is, what's the women's requirement? They don't have a requirement. So I don't want, if I'm walking in there and I have to show that I have 50,000 liquid assets, okay, here you go. But then I don't want Becky Sue, who is just getting, she got turnips as her bank account. That's not fair. That's not fair or equitable in that particular case. So no, I think it's trash. Not only that, I would not, if you reverse that around, even if there was a club that said the women must show they have $50,000 in the bank and the men get to come in for free.
Oh, people would be up in arms.
There would be lawsuits everywhere. Well, it should be the same way. If you're going to put that kind of requirement, it should be if I don't have a problem if that's what you want to do, but there needs to be a fair and equitable match. Everyone that comes to this club must show they have a $50,000 minimum liquid assets.
On the other hand, you know what you're getting when you go in. If only one side of the equation has to show their liquid assets, if you have those assets and you're going in, you know what you should know what to expect.
Well, but see,
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying hopefully you better know what to expect.
I'm not trying to grandstand or anything, but $50,000 isn't a lot of money. It's not like they're saying these guys are
50 million.
They're millionaires. 50,000. Somebody could get their income tax check in. They might have sold their house one day. They're like, oh, maybe I can get my membership now. It's a low enough number that a lot of people can qualify. I just don't like it. I don't like when clubs are doing things like this, especially when they're not fair and balanced. At least be like, okay, the guys must have liquid assets of $50,000. But the women must show they have a bachelor's degree, something to balance it out. You don't agree with that?
No, I think there should be the whole thing is messy. I mean, it's not just the 50,000. There's also, they said, an interview process, an application process. I would like to know what questions they're asking. Do they ask, what questions do they ask of the women? I'm not sure I even want to know.
Well, and here's the thing.
This could go a lot of really kind of icky directions.
It's going to, because you're going to get the gold diggers. You're going to get the gold diggers, and that's not what, here's a little secret for people out there. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of wealthy people. Very few men out there won't go to gold diggers. They want to find someone that has a similar walk of life, similar education. Those are things they want. A bar like this, are you going to get a bunch of grandstanders who are just trying to flex? It's a lame flex because it doesn't really tell you enough about a person. How did they get that 50,000? I guess what? There's a ton of drug dealers out there that can get in. $50,000 is nothing to a drug dealer. Does that mean that's the kind of clientele that you want? That's my problem with this. No, I'm not. I wouldn't step foot in that place. Just because there's going to be a certain level of gold digging people that's going to go there strictly because it's like, I know this guy has money. 50,000 isn't a lot of money.
Where it gets icky for me is, what are we then doing? If there's no monetary requirement for the female side of the equation, are there physical requirements? Do you have to be a certain height? Do you have to be a certain weight? Do you have to have a certain...
No, because they wouldn't dare do that.
Well, see,
they would not dare do that. No club would do that because you would be doomed.
But chances are good that there's some of that bit. Maybe it's not overt, but I bet it's going on in some capacity. You can't say it, but disregard X, Y, and Z in terms of women. Don't let them in.
Yeah, I mean, I could see if it was like... I wouldn't have a problem with this if this was even. A person has to show a certain level of income. Okay, both parties have to show that level of income. Or one party has to get to show $50,000 in equity, but this person, like I said before, has an advanced degree, has completed their degree, owns a successful business. Something to make it equal, or at least resemble equal. Because when I saw this as well, there's no requirements for the women. So she could have 2 cents in her purse, 9 divorces, 14 kids by 13 different daddies. She's fine to walk in there. And I'm not throwing shade at women or anything. I'm talking about the company. There is no requirements for the men. If you're gonna do something like this, then if it's for me, I want to know that she's pulling in or bringing to the table at least as much as I am, or is she bringing something to the table? Just showing up, hey, I'm pretty. Well, guess what? If you're successful, you're confident, pretty is easy to get.
But that's the other thing. That those requirements or those wants, those needs, whatever you want to call them, are different for every man. So yeah, maybe just being pretty is enough for Bob, but Jimbo over here prefers a woman who has a degree or owns a business, or I don't know, walks dogs on the weekends. Everyone's requirements are different, so you can't even put a blanket set of requirements on something like this.
I'll tell you what, though, and there's going to be a big age disparity as well. You're going to find that either they're going to be young internet level people or older successful people. So you're gonna find grandpa who is in the middle of his what do you call that, midlife crisis, trying to get in there. But I don't think you're gonna get anyone. It's gonna be hard to find those quality people that's stepping in there, because I don't know if and I have like I said, a large group of friends that have been very successful. I don't think one of them would go to a place like that. Now, let me hear what what the guy from Barstool was saying.
Well, I just moved off of that screen, but he was saying that he was not impressed. He feels like it's gatekeeping nightclubs. He just wants to be able to go to a nightclub. His concluding remark was something along the line of, "Guess it's time to stop going to nightclubs and just start a family." Like he was not impressed either. I can pull up more specific quotes if you want, and he also said that as he was looking into it, he couldn't find more information, so he wasn't sure if it was actually moving forward. And
from what I saw this, and I thought it was already moving forward. But I think there's going to be some I think there's some laws that's going to shut this place down, because then in that case, if it's not even, then all you need is one person to sue.
Sure.
In this particular case, and this place is gone. This place is not here incredibly long.
And people will sue for all kinds of reasons. So I'm sure that somebody's going to have.
Okay, now.
Yes.
You, Miss Sarah. This is younger Sarah.
Okay. What are you saying? I'm old?
22, 23, 24 Sarah.
Okay.
You hear there's a club and all the men are rich. 50,000 is not rich, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
They're all rich. The club checks them out. They have to verify that they have the money before you go. Are you going to that one? Because I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that would go. 22
to 24, 25-year-old Sarah. I'm trying to think if I'd even ever been to a club by that.
See,
I moved to Dallas.
That makes me a little sad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Dallas around 24, 20. Okay, so yeah, around that time I did start going to a few clubs with friends when I moved to Dallas. But earlier, no, never been to a club. And that age, didn't have a lot of confidence. Probably wouldn't have thought, yeah, no, nobody's gonna look twice at me. What's even the point? So, no, that Sarah wouldn't have gone.
I'm trying to think. Would I've gone, younger me, would I've gone to a club like this? See, no, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want the type of people that it would attract are not my kind of people. One, either the guy that's at that club because it's a flex. It's a big flex. I feel that way sometimes when I've been to clubs and it's like, oh, we got bottle service and we're trying to show how successful we are. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I know a lot. I have a lot of friends that have been very successful with real money. And I'm going to tell you what they're not doing is spending $10,000, $20,000 on a booth and bottle service.
Sure.
That is not what they're doing. The only people that do that are the people that are trying to flex, and the people that won't be able to flex very long. Just saying.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a slippery slope. If you're going to start requiring this, then who knows what they're going to require next.
I'm just saying. And if someone takes them to court and they win, then it's on.
And they might have $50,000 that they could get into the club.
No. I'm just saying.
No, just kidding.
let's say a New York judge holds this up and says this is legal. Then what's next? Hey, we only want pretty women with long legs.
We only want men who are 6'2" and older.
Right. You have to have perfect boobs to get in.
Who defines perfect, though?
Who decided 50,000 was an entry fee?
All arbitrary.
Right. This opens up. This is why this will get shot down, because this opens Pandora's box, and there's no way. How do you, once it's ruled, how do you close? Stop that, because next thing you know, it's like only women with college degrees, only men that are 6'2" and make this amount of money. Next thing you know, it's only white men, only black men. You know, it sets up for. That's why this would never work.
Well, they shouldn't have named it Garçon. They should have named it Pandora's Box. Let's go ahead and take
Very nice.
our final break. When we come back, wedding guest requirements. So this was requirements for a nightclub. Next, returning to wedding guest requirements. You are tuned in to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. In the last segment, we were talking about a New York City nightclub that has a $50,000 requirement to even get in. Well, that and an interview, an application process, all kinds of things. We are switching gears now to wedding guest requirements. And Tate, you may know that some weddings come with lists of requirements for the guests, right? Maybe it's a color scheme or something along those lines. Well, this one wasn't a color scheme. It was, excuse me. I don't know what's going on with my slideshows today. Sarah's having difficulties with things that she double checked before we started. So let me just move back here. And you do not get to see naked wedding photos.
What?
So yeah, this was a naked wedding. Let me give you a woman.
See, now I'm disappointed. I'm leaving the show.
I know. Went all the trouble to find those. And anyway, so my brother doesn't understand why I won't come to a naturist resort for his wedding. She says, my philosophy is that I don't care what others do as long as someone isn't hurting or infringing on my rights or the rights of others. Whatever consenting adults do in their private lives is none of my concerns. This extends to my brother and his fiance being naturists. However, I do take an issue with them being angry that I won't attend their wedding. They are having their wedding and reception at a naturist resort. They met there, and I understand it holds significance for them. I even checked if nudity is a requirement for the ceremony and reception or if it's regular wedding attire. It's a requirement to be nude.
Oh.
Just like all other times at the resort. I've offered to pay for a separate reception for them. However, this has just made them angrier. I'm not comfortable being nude in front of a large crowd of strangers, either at a wedding or in the resort, period. I was asked to be a bridesmaid, although, hey, you wouldn't have to pay for a bridesmaid's dress. Anyway, I was asked to be a bridesmaid, even though I don't know my brother's fiance well enough to be friends. I am definitely not comfortable walking up the aisle arm in arm with a groomsman I've never met when we're both nude, or standing in front of everyone during the ceremony, or being nude in all photographs. My brother's fiance said if she looked like me, she would go nude all the time, but it's not about that. I'm not saying being a naturist is wrong. I'm not saying they should not get married at the naturist resort. I'm just uncomfortable with attending the wedding if I'm required to be nude for it. I don't know about his fiance's family, but some of my siblings and cousins or their spouses are also uncomfortable. My parents are no longer with us, so I can't ask them for advice. I'm just wanting to get off my chest how I feel about my brother not understanding my discomfort about this. Now, if that slideshow had worked, I did have actual pictures of people's weddings. They were staged incredibly well. Those are some photographers that are doing extra work because bouquets were positioned, things were, people were. There were no parts showing in the wedding pictures that I found, but they were all naked, except sometimes the woman had a veil. Nude wedding, go. All right.
So when they're walking down the aisle, are they holding their pick-me-up bouquet?
Keep going. I have no response.
Wow. Now, see, okay, first off, I'm trying to think about this. Am I going to this wedding? Like, if it's my sister, I'm sorry. Oh, hell no. I can't go to the wedding. I'm sorry.
And that's another thing,
And I don't want Aunt Beatrice walking down the aisle with her old dusty butt either. I don't want to see her. I don't want to see some of my cousins. Because you're going to have... When you first start thinking about this, you start marinating a little bit, You start thinking about it, and you're like, "Ooh, this would be kind of nice." You get to check some groceries a little bit, but then you start thinking about like, "Wait a minute, this is my brother's wedding, so my brother's gonna be naked. I'm gonna be naked,
cousins and
then
uncles."
You answered my question. I'm like, "Mama and Daddy naked too?" I'm sorry. You know what? I'm telling y'all right now. Think about this reception. You sit down at the table, and everybody all naked at the table. You better. I don't want none of the chicken. I don't want none of the potato salad. Nothing. That means the servers. Everybody got to be nude. The servers got to be nude as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a requirement if you work at a naturist resort.
No,
I would think health concerns would make sure that the staff, and especially those who are cooking, were clothed. Because, the hairnet you have to wear, I don't think...
Maybe everyone's waxed so they don't have to worry about hair or something. You know what, though? I got to tell you, there's a bunch of people working out.
Well, yeah. And I'm assuming that this is a child-free wedding.
Wait,
you cannot have children at a nude wedding.
Let me tell you something. Ozempic prescriptions going through the roof on that one. Everybody, I tried to think about that one. Everybody is taking Slim Fast, Ozempic, ayahuasca, and everything else under the sun, trying to get their sexy on before that wedding.
Well, I think the bride probably was trying to be encouraging, but if I looked like you, I'd always be naked. Okay, stop checking me out first of all. That's creepy. You're marrying my brother. But also, yeah, I love my brother, and we have a fairly open family. We're not naked around, we're not just walking around naked and stuff, but we're very comfortable with a lot of things in our family.
Oh, hell no.
But I'm not hanging out with my brother naked. I don't necessarily want to hang out with my sister naked at a wedding.
I don't want to see brother, sister, aunt, uncles, cousins, step cousins. I don't want to see none of them. And anybody older than me, I don't want to see them either.
Now, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I've officiated 10, 15 weddings in my life in a previous okay. Would I, as the officiant, also?
Absolutely. Yes, you do.
Have to find,
absolutely, you do.
Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation if you.
You know what, though?
With your priest.
I may have to go on that one.
Wait, what?
I would have to go. I'd be curious. I'd be like, okay, so Pastor Jessica is going to be doing the service? Maybe. You think about it. Everybody, the reception, everybody out there dancing, doing.
I don't want to dance naked either.
Everybody doing the electric slide,
around.
The chicken dance and everything. They're going quack, 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 and things are flapping around. I may have to go just to see how crazy it gets. But you know what? Everybody eating lettuce that whole you better not be one of those procrastinators. You gotta get out at least 3 months out, hitting the gym 2 times a day, every day. I'm not walking into that wedding unless I got at least a keg. I gotta have at least something there. A pony ball, a keg. I know I'm not gonna get in 3 months. I'm not gonna get a 6-pack.
Well, that's the thing. I've never been to a nude resort or a place for a clothing optional place. But I do understand that you see bodies of all types, of all ages. But this is not a group of people who are accustomed to that lifestyle. So this is just, your aunts, your cousins, your whatever, who are now going to be showing up. And the gym thing, I think if you're...
All right, I want you to think about this. Where we live, go to the beach, what do you see? Every
age, body shape.
You see it all.
And sometimes topless.
And you see some of the people, they're topless on the beach, and it's Grandma Goodrich walking around just top out, nothing covering it. See a girl on the beach naked doing yoga. It happens. I just don't know about it being a wedding and a requirement.
Right, the requirement is hard.
At least tone down. Give an option. You can either be nude or you can wear a bathing suit, a bikini.
Or the option that the sister gave. She said she would pay for a reception. Have a second reception, especially if somebody's offering to pay for it.
The thing about getting offended by it is the crazy one. I'm saying, you got to get people out, because great Aunt Ethel wants to come to the wedding, and she can't even wear a girdle.
Well,
nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see it. I'm just letting you know.
Aunt Ethel might be, have been raised in a very conservative environment, and she's not wanting to show up naked either.
Yeah, no, I'm not wanting to see her. There's some, when you first start thinking about it, you're like, ooh, that sounds nice. For every one person you can think of, like, ooh, I would maybe like to see that. There's like 5 people that you don't want to see. Just letting you know.
Well, I'm not going to have a nude wedding anytime soon. I'm just going to throw that out there. Thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show by GSMC Sports. Your support means a lot to us, so make sure you like, follow, subscribe the show. Also, leave us a positive review. It really does help. You can also follow the podcast on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok for more content and updates. Also, we love hearing from you, so go find the podcast on social media. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you have an amazing day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to